Esther. Commentary Rashi, who lived in France maybe 1,000 years ago or so. So what does verse 1 say before we actually read what Rashi says in verse 1? It says, Vayihi b'mei Achashverosh, hu Achashverosh, hamolech me'hoidu v'ad kosh, sheva v'esrim umei Medina. It happened in the days of Achashverosh, that Achashverosh, who reigned over 127 provinces from India to Nubia. That's the verse, okay? So what does Rashi say? Vayihi b'mei Achashverosh, melech paras haya, shemalach tachas koresh, l'soif shivim shana shel galus Bavel. It was in the days of Achashverosh. He was the king of Persia who reigned in place of Koresh at the end of the 70 years of the Babylonian exile. Okay? Hu Achashverosh. So this is on the same verse, right? We said Vayihi b'mei Achashverosh, Hu Achashverosh. So what's this Hu Achashverosh? Hu v'rishay mitchilasav yad seifai. He was the Achashverosh. He was equally wicked from beginning to end. In the verse it says he was the Achashverosh, right? It happened in the days of Achashverosh, that Achashverosh. So he was Achashverosh. In the Hebrew it goes better. Hu Achashverosh. It says Vayihi b'mei Achashverosh. And it was in the days of Achashverosh. Hu Achashverosh. That Achashverosh. Or he was Achashverosh. So what's Rashi saying? What's that mean? That Achashverosh? He was equally wicked from beginning to end. Hu v'rishay, he was in his wickedness mitchilasei v'ad seifei, from its beginning till its end. Hamoilech. Shemalach me'atzmai v'lo haya mizar hamalucha. What does it mean? Who reigned on his own and he was not of royal seed. He led a coup, right? Me'hoidu v'yad kush v'gomer hamelech al 127 medinos k'moish shemalach me'hoidu v'yad kush she'oimdim ze al zeh. V'chein ki hu roide b'chol ever hanahar mitifsach v'yad aza. Shehaya roide b'chol ever hanahar k'moish hu roide mitifsach ad aza. What does it mean from Hodu to Kush? Which, by the way, they translated it here as Nubia. I've heard it translated as Hodu to Kush. Is it India to Ethiopia or India to Pakistan? I don't know. So one of those. From Hodu to Kush, etc., who reigned over 127 provinces with the same authority as he reigned from Hodu to Kush, which are situated alongside one another. And similarly, we explain the verse that says, for he ruled over the entire area beyond the Euphrates River from Tifsach to Gaza. Interesting that Gaza is mentioned here in the commentary, in passing, because in chapter 2, we're going to see in chapter 2, verse 1, the fifth word is Hamas. It's interesting that we mentioned Gaza here in the commentary. Okay? Meaning that he ruled over the side of the river with the same authority, just as he ruled over Tifsach to Gaza. They were two places next to each other. Just like he had equal ruling over those two, he had equal ruling over all the places. Okay, now we're going to verse 2. So let's read verse 2. Bayamim hahem, kishevas hamelech Achashverosh al kisei malchusei asher b'Shushan abira. In those days when King Achashverosh occupied the royal throne in the fortress Shushan. And the Shushan was the capital, and he had a fortress there. Okay. Kishevas hamelech Achashverosh v'gomer Kishen iskayim hamalchus biyadai. V'Rabbeinu pershuhu b'inyan acher b'maseches Megillah. When King Achashverosh had established himself, etc. Says Rashi, when the kingdom was firmly established under his control. Our rabbis, however, explained it differently in Maseches Megillah, Tractate Megillah of the Talmud. Okay, verse 3. B'shnash shalosh l'molcha yasa mishta l'chol sara v'avadav chel paras u'madai hapartimim v'sari hamedinos l'fanav. In the 3rd year of his reign, he gave a banquet for all the officials and courtiers, the administration of Persia and Media, the nobles and the governors of the provinces in his service. Says Rashi, what are the hapartamim? What are those? Shiltoinim bilshain paras. The nobles, says Rashi, governors in the Persian language. Talking Persian over here all of a sudden. Okay, verse 4. For no fewer than 180 days he displayed the vast riches of his kingdom and the splendid glory of his majesty. Yamim Rabim Asalehem Ishta. For many days he made a feast for them. Verse 5. Uvimlai seyamim ayla asa hamelech l'chol ha'am hanimtzeim b'shushan abir lemigadol v'ad katan mishta shivas yamim b'chatzar ginas bisan hamelech. At the end of this period, the king gave a banquet for 7 days in the court of the king's palace garden for all the people who lived in the fortress Shushan, high and low alike. Ginas mekaim zaroine yerokos. On the garden, a place where vegetables are sown. Gisan natua be'ilanos. Orchard where trees are planted. Right? Yeah, that was verse 5. Good. Okay, good. Verse 6. Chor karpas uscheles. Achos bechav levutz ve'argaman al gelile chesef amudei sheish. Mitais zahav v'chesef al ritzvas behat v'sheish v'dar v'saychores. There were hangings of white cotton and blue wool caught up by cords of fine linen and purple wool to silver rods and alabaster columns. And there were couches of gold and silver on a pavement of marble alabaster, mother of pearl and mosaics. Chor karpas uscheles mine v'gadem tzivainim peras lahem limatza'os. There were pure white drapes, fine woolen cushions, bluish emerald techeles wool, says Rashi. He spread out various types of colored fabrics for them as spreads. Achos bechavle vutz ve'argamon, mirukamim b'fsile vutz ve'argamon, oisan peras lahem al gelile chesef ve'alamudei sheish. Brocaded with strands of linen and mauve, woolen argamon threads, says Rashi, embroidered with threads of linen and purple. He spread these out for them on rods of silver and columns of marble. Mitay sahav v'chesef arach leishev alehem lisuda. Gold and silver couches, says Rashi, he set them up to sit upon them for a meal. Al ritzvas karkaos shel bahat v'sheish v'gamer mine avonim toivais perishu rabbeisenu ufi mashmo'us hamikra kach shemam. On a floor, says Rashi, floors of green and white, etc. Our rabbis identified them as types of precious stones. According to the apparent meaning of the verse, these were their names. Verse 7. V'hashkois b'chlei zahav v'chelim mikelim shainim v'yein malchus rav kiad hamelech. Royal wine was served in abundance as befits a king in golden beakers of varied design. V'hashkois b'chlei zahav k'mayu ula hashkois. As for drinking golden utensils, says Rashi, the word v'hashkois means the same as ule hashkois, and to drink. You can see on the screen the Hebrew, there's 2 Hebrew words, says Rashi, they mean the same thing. They have the same letters and punctuation other than a lamed being inserted between the first and second letters. And then the first letter, the vav, has a different punctuation. Other than that, it looks the same. Okay? Shainim, mishunim, zemizeh, v'chein, v'dasehem shaines, v'arbaisenu darshu, masha darshu. Sundry, says Rashi, like in the Hebrew it's shainim, different. Translated here as sundry. Above we translated as something else, I don't know. But here it's sundry. Says Rashi, different one from the other. And similarly, we have the verse, and their customs differ. And it means one from the other. Okay. Right? Dasehem shainois. They had different religions or thoughts or customs. Okay. And our rabbis expounded what they expounded. Okay. V'yein malchus rav harbe. V'rabbi sinu amru shehish ka'isam kol echad ve'echad yayin shehu zaken mimenu. And the verse said, and plenty of royal wine. Says Rashi, it was abundant. And the rabbi said that he gave each one wine to drink that was older than he. What does it mean? V'yein malchus rav, and royal wine in abundance or a lot. It means a lot more than you, like older than you are. Right? The first explanation was that it was abundant. The second explanation means older than the person. Okay, verse 8. V'ashasiach chadas ein oines kichen yisad hamelech al kol rav beisai la'asos kirtzei nishvaish. Before we go further, the Hebrew, the fourth word in this verse, right? V'ashasiach chadas ein oines. That fourth word, oines, with an asnachna under it, which tells you that it's a comma. Oines means rape. Another allusion to some of what has been going on. I'm just putting it out there. Here, it's meaning no one's forcing anyone to drink. Let's read the English. They don't translate it as rape, but I'm just saying that's what ones means. In modern Hebrew, at least. And the rule for the drinking was no restrictions, for the king had given orders to every palace steward to comply with each man's wishes. The drinking was chadas, according to their religion or thought or whatever, or their das, their knowledge, their opinion. Because there prosper, kadas, I don't know how they get prosper from that, but okay. Because there are feasts in which they coerce those seated to drink the contents of a large vessel. And some can only drink it with difficulty, but here it was with no coercion. So oines is like they're translating here as coercion. Yisad l'shon yisoid, claim arcane tikein v'tziva. Basically instructed. Yisad, I don't know how they got basically instructed, but okay. An expression referring to a foundation. Yisad is like yisod, foundation, meaning so he instituted and commanded. Okay. Al kol rav beisai, al kol sari hasuda, sar ha'oifim, v'sar ha'tabachim, v'sar ha'mashkim. He commanded, right, that it should be like according to these people's opinions, how much they want to eat or drink, whatever. All his palace officials, says Rashi, all stewards of the feast, the chief baker, the chief butcher, and the chief butler. Mashkim, I think it's drinks. Maybe like the drink, I don't know. To satisfy each individual's desire, ish va'ish, man and man. Just learned today who's the man and the man. It's a reference to Mordechai and Haman, our good inclination and our evil inclination. And the king satisfied both. One wanted kosher wine, one wanted non-kosher wine. So the king Achashverosh gave both. That's what it means. He fulfilled both the will of man and man, Mordechai and Haman. Why both? So that the man has free will to choose. Okay, so to satisfy each individual's desire, man and man, for each one his desire. Okay. Yeah, next verse. Was this verse 9? This was 8. So we don't have verse 9. No Rashi's on verse 9. So let's just read verse 9 before we get back to 10. Verse 9. What? How do I get up? They're not going to show me verse 9 now. Okay. Fine, so let's stop here. Or, I don't know, let's see verse 10, at least the Rash. I don't know what to do now. Whatever, okay. We're skipping to verse 10. Bayom hashvi katav lev hamelech bayoyin. Amar lemuhuman bisa charvayna bigsa va'avagsa zeisar v'charkas shivas hasarisim hamsharisim es pnei hamelech Achashverosh. On the seventh day, when the king was merry with wine, he ordered Mehuman, Bizitha, Harbona, Bigtha, Abagtha, Zathar, and Karkas, the 7 eunuchs, in attendance on King Achashverosh. So on the 7th day, says Rashi, our rabbi said that it was on the Shabbos. What does it mean on the 7th day? Yeah, it was the 7th day of the party, but it was the 7th day, it was Shabbos. Okay, very interesting. You get a little glimpse into what it's like to study Torah with Rashi. It's a beautiful thing. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any comments about the book of Esther at all, I'd love for you to post it down below.